It is Friday. Bring it in with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Jarod, I don't know how it could be any better. The NBA season has started. I'm here with you to talk about it. My daughter is coming in to surprise my wife today. She doesn't know it. She's on a trip now, and my dad's about to get out of the hospital. We're gonna go see him first. I think I'm gonna have sushi tonight. It'll be the greatest night of all time.
I was gonna say this is the best night of your life. You are
good. Life is good. Now tonight might be a different story, but I'm fire. We have so much to talk about. I'm fired up, my man.
We do, but I think you made a good point there, though, right? Like you're one of the better people I know about being present and being in the moment. And I'm sure it probably took you a while to get to this point. It's because it's something that I'm now in my early 40s finally start. It's just hard because you're always thinking, what's coming? What's ahead? Oh man, I messed that shit up in the past. And it's like, but none of that matters. Like it really doesn't. Like it's today. And you're really good at that.
Thank you. I never thought of it that way. I bet in your profession you are, especially even as a swim coach, like a coaches always have to think down the road. My wife noticed this about me. I never thought about it, but she would often say, you're making decisions for our family of four down the road. And she's like, I'm just thinking about right now. That's what a coach has to do. But on the other hand, if you're in the game, you better be thinking about the game. And for me, the game is my dad's been in the hospital for a weekend. I don't know if he's ever getting home. And you can't have but one person in a room at a time. And so it's just me and my dad. And yeah, you think about a lot of stuff. So when my daughter called me last night, like, Dad, I want to come home and see Papa. I'm like, let's go. Here we go.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. Don't tell Mom. I want to surprise her too. Yes, please. So yeah, we're good. We're good.
So there was a piece about one of these horrible Republican governors, and I hate giving them any airspace or time, but it is related to the world of sports. So I know you wanted to make a comment about Governor Abbott.
Well, I think this goes back to something, Jarod, that you really hit hard on during the bubble just over a year ago, where the athletes were trying to figure out how to take a stance against basically racist cops, institutionally racist segments of our society that were making things extraordinarily difficult and in murdering citizens of our country that didn't deserve to be murdered. Well, it's just transferred from the Black Lives Matter story, which that's just one tiny part of that whole story of racism, into Rudy Gobert and COVID. Sports takes on a role. Though our country was operating normally until that night, and it was a chilling night. My wife and I were sitting together. I think we were supposed to watch the last episode of Westworld that night, a couple of days late for us, whatever. And everything shut down just after Rudy tested positive. And so now here we are. This motherfucker has meets with Breitbart. I mean, I'm not even going to categorize Breitbart except for Nazi, basically Nazi propaganda. And he does it at the stadium, University of Texas. And he's, fighting vaccines and mandates and whatever fucking bullshit he's saying. And I was proud to know that, a lot of the students and alumni are pissed.
Good.
Like, how are you using our stadium to have this interview with these fucking corrupt motherfuckers from this company? And he did it on purpose. He could have picked a whole bunch of outdoor places to wheel into, which is fine that he's in a wheelchair. I'm glad he's a governor in a wheelchair. I don't even know why he's in there. I don't follow Texas politics. All I know is he chose to do it in a football stadium for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad there's some pushback to that. Because if you want to hijack sports, don't hijack it for indecency and killing other and more people. Hijack it the other way. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
And of course, the last thing I'll say is it's always so ironic how they do this thing. And they say they don't want politics in sports, yet they use sports to politicize literally every single thing. Right? Like it's just
I went to Buccaneer games for years with my dad. It was the one thing we always could do together. And there were flyovers all the time.
Come on, please. The politics and sports have been interwoven since the dawn of time. Let's just call that what that is.
Right.
Well, moving north of the border to Philly. So that situation, Coach, is, it's getting untenable there. And I said something like this was going to happen. So reportedly yesterday, which was Thursday, Ben Simmons reported to the Philadelphia 76ers facility, complained of back tightness. He got checked by the athletic staff, training staff. They cleared him to get involved in his workout for the day. He chose to go home and not do his workout. You know, I thought this is the next play in the playbook. Okay, if you show up and you don't go to, he got thrown out of practice earlier this week. This is the next thing that you do, right? Yeah, you can leave that up, Judy. You fake it or not fake an injury. If something hurts, you make it seem longer and a much bigger issue than it is, because your goal as Ben Simmons is to not play basketball for the 76ers. You have made that clear. And I think right now, Coach, both sides are looking horrible. First off, on the Philadelphia side, Daryl Morey got to Philadelphia, tried to trade Ben immediately. Okay. And then told him, no, we never tried to trade you. Never tried to trade you. It's like, come on, don't lie, dude. He knows it. Everyone knows you tried to trade him. Okay. It didn't work. You played. Whatever happened, the season went out well. You got the 1 seed. Things were going great. He had a terrible postseason. Okay. Your coach, who all season told him, I don't care if you shoot, not a big deal. You do so many other things for us. Throws him under the bus at game 7. His running mate also does the same thing. All right. Well, he's at a point where he's like, well, I'm over it. Right now, on his end, unprofessional. You got 4 years left on your contract. You've got to honor that. If you're not going to come, don't come. Don't show up and be a disruption at practice. Doc tells you to get into a drill. You're like, no, I'm not doing it. You take your ball, you go home. You look disinterested. That is unprofessional. But on both sides, there's blame to go around. And now Daryl going out and saying, he spoke to local media yesterday and said, would you rather eliminate what people perceive to be a distraction, or would you rather have a better playoff odds? I'll take the playoff odds. Whatever we have to deal with that helps the Philadelphia 76ers win the title, we'll do it. And Bomani Jones quote tweeted it and said, every criticism I've had of Morey, right in one quote. And his defenders, like him, can't see what is to me an obvious flaw in the thought process. And this has always been my issue with Daryl, is the same as Bomani's. I often think Daryl gets the people part of this business wrong. Look, this is a locker room and this is a work environment. You have to be able to account for that and the discomfort and uncomfortableness. Daryl doesn't mind that, but guess what? I know Joel's sick of it, because Joel came out and said, I don't care about this man. He does whatever he wants. Can't be great for Doc. You're trying to win a championship, get yourself back to that level you were at. And to have this distraction constantly there, this isn't good for anybody. Not only, and it's not helping his trade value. You could have had CJ McCollum months ago. Now, what team in their right mind is like, sure, Daryl, we'll give you the best player we have and all the picks you want. Why would they? They have no impetus to. So I just think this situation is ugly and getting uglier by the minute.
I don't typically disagree with a single word you ever say. I'm just going to maybe tweak some of your thoughts into how I see it, because I don't think you're stupid or wrong by any large scale thing. It's a mess. And you described it perfectly. Specifically with Bomani's tweet, I think Daryl is in for the long game. I think that I think what your comment about what Joel said is the most important thing of all. Joel's not having it anymore. But you know what? What is he going to do if Doc Rivers puts him in the game? He's not going to not play. They're not going to get along great ever. They're never going to be best friends. I don't know what Daryl's waiting for. I think he knows what he's waiting for. And when he gets it, he'll make the trade. When he said yesterday, hey, it might take all 4 years. That's silly.
Yeah.
He's not sitting for 4 years. When he said also in the same sentence, Joel, we have the window here with Joel. He just did his extension. Mm-hmm. Well, right now there's a 0 in the Ben Simmons space. He's never going to play, probably. If he does, it probably won't be great. I don't think he has got the constitution to get through what the Sixer fans have for him. Mm-hmm. So you just got to wait for, first of all, he can wait another, 40 days, whatever it is, until he can trade him for every free agent signed this summer. So the entire world of the NBA is open up to him that isn't currently opened up to him. Mm-hmm. So that makes some sense. You can't really say it that way, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that I think Daryl trusts he'll be able to work things out. I think your assessment of Daryl on the human side is accurate. And I'm friendly with Daryl. Like we do text a lot. We text a good amount during the course of the season, the off season. He's very friendly with me. He's actually very funny. But I don't think you're wrong. I think a lot of people on that side tend to sway on the analytics side just as much as I think a lot of the people on the pure basketball side tend to ignore analytics. The best ones find a happy medium. And to be fair, I think he's the best talent accumulator in the league.
For sure.
Although Atlanta is doing a hell of a job right now. We can talk about that.
We will.
They're fucking loaded. And James Jones in Phoenix has done a hell of a job. But I think Daryl, over the course of the last decade, is the best at accumulating talent. And I think he trusts himself on this. We were talking before air about Kyrie. We'll get to that in a minute. There needs to be, the media is not going to stop asking about it, Jarod. But
Never.
the team, I think it acts as a little bit of a prick to them. I watched their first game in New Orleans. Now, New Orleans was missing their best player, right? One of the best in the world, but they got smacked. Philly played really well. Embiid was unbelievable. Tobias Harris, unbelievable. Their bench, unbelievable. Furkan Korkmaz, incredible. I watched the game. He was great. So I think it'll be a galvanizing force for a while. To your point, going back a month, at some point it's going to start splintering and fraying because they're going to be sick of answering these questions and having a zero in the Ben Simmons space. That's gonna come with attacks. But for now, I think Daryl, I feel like if I'm betting, I'm going to bet on the guy that typically pulls a good deal out of it, and I think he will here. It probably won't be Beal and Lillard,
right?
But I can't say for sure it won't be. We're going to get to at least game later because he said some comments. But it's a mess. I mean, you're not wrong.
It's just ugly, Coach.
It's ugly. The fans are out for blood. You're right.
If he shows his face in the Wells Fargo Center,
I'm not a psychologist that way, but sometimes, Jarod, when people are afraid of spiders or snakes, and a doctor, I've seen this, a doctor will just make you hold a spider or a snake, one that isn't going to bite and kill you or constrict you to death. I always feel like Ben just needs to go and fucking let him rain booze. Let him rain.
It's gonna be more than booze, I think.
They might be throwing some batteries.
Who knows? I think it's gonna be really ugly. Like
I disagree with you. He might just wear a hard hat, man. That'd be the smartest thing. Wear a hard hat. And like a bulletproof vest.
I mean, we don't know Ben personally, but from what we've seen from afar, Coach, he doesn't have the constitution to deal with that. Like, first of all, how many people do have the constitution to deal with that? Let's just be honest.
Right.
Like that, that's a lot. And I'm gonna follow up on something you said. Daryl does always, he is excellent because his thing is let's accumulate the most talent. But sometimes you got to look at, does my talent actually get along? And do I serve myself better by having someone slightly less because it's a better environment conducive to winning? Yes, of course, I'd be better if I had the number one and number two player in the world. But if they can't stand each other and hate each other to the guts, is that going to really help me get to my ultimate goal, which is winning? And Woj just sent this out today. So Ben and the 76ers were going to meet this morning and had a shoot around. And he said to them, he is not mentally ready to play to his expectations right now. So I don't even know what that means. Does Doc put him in the lineup today? Does he show up to the arena? You show up in street clothes?
No way. You and I both think he's probably not going because what you just said, he's not going to be able to handle the epithets going to be hurled at him. Hollinger has been writing for weeks, John Hollinger at The Athletic, that you're way better off showing up and just not playing than not showing up. Well, he already ripped that can open, and now you don't get the benefit of what James Harden did last year in Houston. But I do want to say one other thing. There are people who wrote about Ben Simmons, like John Gavoni, who's like a little brother to me when he first started out, basically saying, I told you so. And I wrote something too in 2016 when he was a draftable player that acknowledged some of the issues he had, just like I did with LaMelo Ball. I also acknowledged his overwhelming talent. But let's be clear. Third team All-NBA, three-time All-Star, second best player on the first seed last year. He had a bad postseason. He's got some flaws in his game. But let's not act as if you can't win hugely with him.
Correct.
And he and Embiid were the number one duo. It wasn't LeBron and AD. It wasn't Kawhi and PG. It was those two guys. So let's not act as if he wouldn't have gone number one, even if you were told he might want to sit out because he gets pissed off after a bad postseason. It was worth the pick he was in, and he's got a huge upside still to develop for sure. We got to get through this spot with him, and it may be a while. It looks like.
Yeah, I think your point is correct though. December 15th, and Daryl can't say that, right? Because you get fined for talking about. But December 15th is when other players will be available, and maybe there's something already in the works, and they just got to make it to December 15th. Hopefully, it'll move on by then. I thought something interesting, Coach, about this situation, because I don't know if you saw this. Pablo Torre recently did the first interview with Geraldo Bulgaris since the whole fiasco down in Dallas.
Yeah.
And it was a really good interview. I encourage everybody to listen to it. It's on the ESPN Daily podcast. And there's a little write-up here that McMahon from ESPN did about it. Harley Bob said something very interesting to me. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, a precursor to success is being disagreeable. And he was talking about it in relation to when he first got there. He said to Mark Cuban, the Mavericks owner, in an email, I don't want to ruffle any feathers here. Here's what I think about X, Y, and Z. Let's do this. And Mark Cuban said back to him, essentially paraphrasing again, no, I don't want you to be here and just go along, get along. Like, if you think something's wrong, I want you to tell us why. There are areas where we are deficient in, where you were strong. So we need you to say whatever it is. Don't worry about ruffling feathers or pissing anybody off. There is an ethos there, right, around that type of attitude and behavior that is generally found around, pun intended, Mavericks, right? People, billionaire, typically uber successful, and in this country in particular, white males, right? This idea of bravado, braggadocio. I just do what nope, this is what it is. I don't care about making friends. This is business, etc. And I thought it was so interesting when thinking about the Philly situation with Daryl Morey. Again, I always talk about how Daryl is fine with people being uncomfortable, and okay, yes, maybe in the Jack Welch School of Management, or yes, like being disagreeable might be a lead to success. But that is not the Ted Lasso style, Coach, right? Like how do we reconcile that, right? The idea of being a jerk just to be a jerk versus you can also lead with love and compassion and kindness, and that works too.
Well, I would argue, and I have some experience with this with our dear friend Henry, that you can't have that disagreeable part without first the love part. Well, you can have it. You're just asking for more trouble. You have not been privy. You may have your own conversation with Henry, but you've not been on the phone when he and I are arguing. And he'll, David. Because I talk too fast and too much. I know I do. And that's how he gets me to shut up. And he is not an easy man to argue with, for sure, because he's smarter than me. So it's already unfair. That's we're talking on court, but he's way too smart to ever argue with me about on court stuff. So I can't win. But we can have our disagreements or arguments, or we're trying to get to the truth about something. And we love each other. We're amazing friends. I know so much about his wife and kids and vice versa. And it's built on a 15-year relationship now. So I don't even call them disagreements. We're just trying to figure shit out together as partners, but also as friends. We were doing it before we were really partners. And that's what I'm guessing is missing in this situation. What Geraldo said, which is really smart, in a vacuum, it makes more sense. In reality, where's the trust? Like where is that years of experience building that bridge so you can walk back and forth, even when there's kind of fire going on around it, the seas are unleashing, whatever. Yeah, that I think you were smart to put this in there because it made me think of the same thing. And it also leads right to what's happening in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
The one cool thing, this is to, people like you have helped us understand it. I think Kyrie and KD, you have a real friendship, a genuine friendship. So, because this could be a fucking fire.
Yes.
If they didn't, like, what are you doing? We just got beat badly by Milwaukee without you. But there is a real fundamental friendship there. And I think it'll end up working out just fine.
Yeah, I think, so just to update Brooklyn, there's really nothing new to update, right? Kyrie's doing his thing. There's some TMZ video that floated out the other day of him playing pickup football at some schoolyard in New Jersey, I presume, somewhere with some kids, whatever. But the team is of the mindset of, look, the guys who are here in the locker room, this is where we're going. They're talking in the tense of guys who are here now, not guys who aren't here. We're moving along. The injury report gets sent to us the night before every game. Who's in and out? Irving. Out, not with team. That's it. It's just one line. That's all it says. Like, everybody else is available in here and doing their thing. And I think ultimately, to your point, Coach, it's really about Kyrie, right? The Kevin knows enough about Kyrie to say, okay, here are your rules, and I know how you operate. I'm just going to give you your space. But I do also think, what we've talked about before, that deadline is somewhere there, right? Where it's like, hey man, you're not just going to show up on May 1 for the first or April first day of the playoffs. And no. Like there's going to be a cutoff at some point where we're just going to continue to move on without you because we have to march with the guys who are here and not worry about if this, then this, or whatever happens. So I think that's something to be mindful of as well.
You know more about Brooklyn than I do, but let's compare and contrast their situation now with Philly going back 3 years with Ben Simmons. One of the things I've heard people like John Gaboni talk about with Philadelphia is the previous regime really coddled Ben from day one. And that's Ben's fault too. That's Team Simmons' fault, not just Team Sixers' fault. I think that, like, for example, I've said this, I've written this, I've said this on podcasts to include our podcast when we first started it. I've said publicly that they should be telling Ben Simmons, every time you don't shoot a three when you're wide open, this is going back to his first year playing, you're coming out. I'll put you back in, no emotion, no anger, but there's going to be a tax every time you make a bad decision. We're going to punish you. You're coming out. You've got to take those shots. In the postseason, we can tweak it up. If we're playing for a 1 seed, we can tweak it up. But for now, you've got to just not be afraid to miss and just let it go. And so, and they didn't do that. And they did a lot of other bad things. Whereas I think in Brooklyn's case, what you just said, they've kind of laid down the law. Like, we're not coddling you. We want you, clearly. And we were going to pay you a bunch of money. And we probably still will. But what you're not going to do is in your own time, when the postseason comes, decide to come in, that ship has sailed. It will have sailed, rather. Yeah. And I think that's good. Let him know where his boundaries are and let him navigate in between. He'll probably find where he needs to go.
Without question. And one follow-up on your Simmons point, this was an issue, a failure of the organization for both of them. When Joel and Ben got drafted, they gave the keys to the franchise to both those guys and let them have the run of the place and do whatever they wanted, right? Always dangerous when you do that with unproven rookies. Yeah, we know we think they're going to be really good, but to give them that kind of carte blanche with no boundaries, not good. The difference is Joel, at least to some extent, has worked on his game and gotten better. There's still issues with him conditioning and that sort of thing, but he at least has worked and improved. Ben, because we see, has not in certain areas. And that, again, failure on the 76ers for that.
Yeah, and Simmons, yeah. Okay.
Oh,
let's get to the ratings.
So we're looking at the opening night. So not the TNT night on Tuesday where we had Bucks Nets and then Warriors Lakers. Wednesday, that double overtime game between the Knicks and the Celtics. What was the rating for that game? I believe it was the highest ESPN opening night NBA rating in quite some time.
18 years, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, 18 years. And I caught some of it. I didn't have the volume on, but I caught it. Yeah, we've talked about this a lot, and Henry and I have been talking this for a long time on what does it take to get people to watch. And I don't know what's happened on this night. I know this. So first of all, just because I always like to piss on Trumpers and to piss off Trumpers, when ratings were down, you know damn well why they were suggesting. Because Black men were talking and taking a stand and whatever racist bullshit they were peddling. Here we are. We're still in a pandemic, but life is much more normal than it has been, and we get this great ratings. But I thought of this, Jarod. So I didn't ever miss Seinfeld if I could help it on a Thursday night. I couldn't always watch it live. When I was first watching Seinfeld, I probably still have VCR tapes of it. Now I have all the DVDs my wife got me years ago. I've never even opened it because it's on every station in syndication if I ever wanted to watch it again. But we used to have to tape it sometimes if I was working on something on Thursday night. Not every show was great. And within a show, there might have only been some funny scenes or funny lines in a relatively, average at best show. This is the deal. Like that, not every second is riveting all the time in 30 minutes. Well, last night I'm watching the Golden State Clippers game from the beginning. And that first period, and there was a period of the first period. So maybe a 12-minute segment where Steph Curry couldn't miss.
Cooking.
It was 5 straight threes and a jumper. I don't know if that was all he made in a row. He might have missed one.
Made his first 10 shots in a row.
Was it first 10?
First 10.
I had the volume off, but I could feel the energy. I didn't have to have the volume on. It was incredible. It's why you would watch Seinfeld, because you never knew when you get that moment of absolute brilliance. And Curry last night did that. So what can't be captured, Jarod, in the YouTube highlights that I will watch sometimes, mostly because I'm looking for just for Judy, you can't get that same flavor in 5 second, 8 second segments. You've got to take it in. You got to catch the Clippers calling timeout, then another timeout. And did you see Curry at the end of the first quarter, how he to the crowd, like, like he was just, I've never seen him do that in a regular season game. It
was awesome because it was the first time they had a full arena in over 2.5 years, right? So it was, and it's the brand new Chase Center. It's full Curry Warriors magic. So everybody was like, yes. That game was interesting last night, Coach, because it was kind of like the first half anyway, a game of 2 runs, right? Okay, second quarter, the Clippers were like, all right, so let's stop fooling around, okay? And all of a sudden, they amped the defense up, and they forced the Warriors into 12 turnovers in the second quarter. Some of those were the careless variety that Steph will have on occasion, right? Just being careless. But some of them, and I want to get into this because this is your guy, was about Terrence Mann. Now, look, I love what he did in the playoffs last year. And, you know, I'm always like, all right, what can a guy really do? Blah, blah, blah. But I did a thing. And, you know, I always talk about lessons I learned from you. I try and watch the game without watching the ball. I can do it for a little bit, but my eyes always want to pull back to where the ball is. But I zeroed in and literally just watched Terrence Mann the entire time. When Lou was like, no, you go on Curry. Coach, it was brilliant. Like, face guarding. He knew when they were coming to run their split. He was calling out split screen coming. So he knew to tell his guy what to do. So we're not going to lose this dude. I mean, they blanketed Curry second through third quarter. I mean, really, he only got loose to hit those 2 shots at the end from that. And that's when Mann wasn't on him, surprisingly enough. Like, and really, after a couple of times, you know how they love to do that dribble handoff between Draymond and Steph. Obviously, Terrence Mann does his homework and studies. His hands were out and active, poking at that ball, pushing it away. And again, it's on a 24-second shot clock. When you disrupt the rhythm, now they're further out. Now we only got 4 seconds as opposed to 8. And all these little things, he was incredible defensively. Like, if you look at his box score, you'll be like, what did Terrence Mann do? And I'm like, no. Terrence Mann did a lot in that game. And I'm really impressed by him. And I think, look, of course, they need Kawhi to win. Everybody knows that. But I think they're going to be just fine until he gets back.
I think, Ty Lue. So I've said this before. I was not a Ty Lue fan as a player because he chose a really corrupt agent. And so it's just my own bias. When you choose a really terrible agent, I feel like I'm stupid for saying this because he was probably 22 years old. What does he know about choosing? I mean, I was making really dumb mistakes in my 30s with attorneys or whatever. It's hard. At that age, it's really hard, especially when these guys are so corrupt. They do so much to get you. But he's one of my favorite coaches in the league. I mean, he might be my favorite coach in the league. That he's unafraid of everything. He's unafraid of everything. Whatever. I'll try anything. And fucking Doc Rivers wouldn't play Terrence Mann. I knew, and I told this for off air, that when he was a rookie, Paul George and Kawhi were like, oh, you're our guy. I had heard that through my sources. And as you said before we were on the show, sometimes players know. Yeah, they do. Not always, but often, especially the guys of that level. Now, someone can check on the internet who's listening now. I'm almost positive his dad was a well-known high school coach, successful high school coach. So we have this very charismatic, super athletic. I mean, he's a very athletic long guard who played point guard in the ACC. That's also a coach's son.
Yeah.
And he's like the greatest guy ever. Like,
he knows some things.
I'm picking this guy first round. What are we doing, coaches, executives? What are you doing? Now, the Clippers are paying him. He got a nice extension. He got a fat extension. And he's really good. And I think they're good. I love Paul George. I love their head coach. Zubac inside is solid. It's all he needs to be.
Yeah.
Marcus Morris, I like Marcus Morris. I trained him years ago. I thought he didn't play with force last night. Listen, he could have been hurt. I'm not going to judge him after
game 1 of the season. He could still be in like preseason mode. You know, like
he's a good player. If they have Kawhi, I think I favor him in the West, Jarod.
Yeah, I mean, well, we saw what they did. I mean, they're excellent. Like, and that small ball lineup they go to, when they go full 5 out. Yeah, I'm like, wow, you guys are good. On the Warriors side, look, they're a lot better, and I like a lot of the stuff they do. They don't have the overwhelming offensive talent they've had in the past, because of course Clay's not there. Yes, I know Jordan Poole's better. I know Otto Porter's better. I know Nemanja Bjelica is better. But you could afford those turnovers when you had prime Clay and KD, right? And like Draymond shooting 38% from 3. I don't know if you can still do that now, right? Turn the ball over 12, 14 times against good teams and manage to come out on top at the end, right? I mean, so that's something that I think that bears watching. But defensively, they did some nice things. I really liked them a lot. Like they that was a really, really great game last night. Conversely, what was not a great game last night was Heat Bucks. So the Heat kind of, here's what I think in the Eastern Conference, Coach. Miami, Milwaukee, and Atlanta are loving all the drama in Philly, and to a lesser extent, Brooklyn. They're just like, yeah. Everybody, you guys go crazy over there or whatever. We're just going to come out and do our job. Miami just came out and laid the smackdown on them. It's weird. It looks like the Bucks had that championship ring night hangover last night and not the night before.
They did. I watched it. They brought everything to that Brooklyn game. And there's, I mean, think about this. I was thinking about this the other day. I saw a picture of Pat Connaughton's ring.
Huge. They're
like,
huge.
Man, I was working on my game in my driveway when I was 14. I was Norm Nixon, right? Maurice Cheeks. I missed on purpose when I was Mo Cheeks because I was rooting for Norm Nixon, the Lakers guy. I was copying Jamal Wilkes' shot. Like, I didn't dream about winning an NBA championship. My coach wasn't a very inspirational guy, but these guys have, and that's very much why they're so good. They dream first. I have a saying in my wall that I created myself. First we dream, then we do. These guys were dreaming. Now they might have been doing it and then really dreaming. They're like, hey, wait a second, I'm pretty good at this. And then you winning a championship is better. But that ring ceremony is pretty fucking good, right? Like, and seeing that thing is incredible. And so, yeah, that's why a lot of teams get waxed on that ring ceremony. But with Giannis as your guy, it's not going to happen. And it did against Miami. But on the other side, I think you're exactly right. And I think it's more than that. I don't think it's just those teams being like, yeah, we like this drama in Brooklyn. I think Miami, led by Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry, two very abrasive individuals in terms of their outlook, they're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's how they play. So I thought Milwaukee walked into a Bears cave, right?
Yeah.
And Miami just brought it. And we wrote about this a couple weeks ago. Tyler Hero,
he looked good.
I was like, average 22 in the preseason.
If he's doing that, and he's their league, that guy coming off the bench, he's gonna cook second units, and they'll probably close games with them on the floor. That's because they need that, right? Because Jimmy isn't a great 3-point shooter. Kyle's fine, so they'll need him to close games, and we know they're gonna compete and play their ass off, and they're gonna guard. And there's a saying that players love using about other players, like Jimmy and Kyle. Those are they're MFers, and that's what they are. And it's like you don't really want to like.
Yeah, they're. I player said this one time when I said, "Oh, that guy's a dog," and my kid said, "DOG or DAWG." This was like 1988. I haven't forgotten. Yeah, those guys are dogs in the best sense of the world. Like they got some dog in them, is what a scout would say. He's got some dog in him, and that's the best kind of thing. They wanted it. I have them, I think, third behind Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and wins. At 52.
No surprise.
Just below Atlanta. And real quick on Golden State, I think you nailed it. Steph Curry went nuclear and he finished with 45. Is that right? What do you have?
45, 44, something like that. Yeah.
So 25 in the first quarter, 20 the rest of the game. And they won by 2. Okay. And we don't know what Clay's going to be like. And Weissman might be able to help. He also may be terrible for them still. He's only his second year and he missed a lot. They can't depend on Curry's going to get 30 a night, 32 a night. It's not going to get 45.
Right.
Wiggins was pretty solid. They've got to be better. But yeah, Miami, I think they're going to be right there. I really do. Their depth is a concern. Tyler will help, but after that, but they also, Spoelstra's a great coach. There's an identity there. And I think this game helps build that. Like, we know we can beat anyone. We just beat the champions like a drum. I think they're going to be really, really good.
They are hard-nosed. We're going to punch you in the mouth. That's who they are.
I think so.
And that's in the playoffs. You don't want that for 7 games. That's just Atlanta and Dallas, another blowout game. Look, it's only one game. I ain't going to overreact, but Dallas has moved to the mid-range by Coach Jason Kidd. I don't know. I don't think that's great so far.
Well, so let's be clear. I don't know if I put this in there or not. I thought maybe I did. Do you know how many threes they took last night?
43. I didn't look.
43.
Which is, listen, I love it. Take a lot.
But my point is what you just said. Well, which are you? Now, they were getting blown out, but I looked it up. They took 19 in the first half. That equates to 38 in the game. The game was pretty bad early on too, but not that bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of blowout. They just elected to shoot a lot of threes, and yet Jason's saying you don't want to do it. So are they following your guidance? Are they not following your guidance? I'm not a fan of Jason Kidd. He's got a long season to prove himself, but he better. I think ultimately it goes down to they made a move for KP for Porzingis, and that might have just been terrible.
Well, I was just gonna say, we know what Luka is. Yeah. KP's got to be the guy. Yeah. If he's back to all-star level KP, like when he was in the Knicks, fine.
Yeah,
they're gonna be good to go. But if he's not, and again, it's one game. We got 81 more of these to go. We'll see. Atlanta, you wrote about them that a championship is in their future. Of course, we can't predict championship, but they have all the pieces. Everybody develops and they get the right health and luck, all that. Man, that team, coach, they look so good. They have a plethora of wing players. They're going to be an interesting team come the trade deadline, I feel like, because DeAndre Hunter, Herter, Cam Reddish. I mean, they're just stockpiled with win. And you don't think some contending team wants one of those three dudes? I bet they do. But Atlanta's probably like, okay, we need one more thing. What can we get from you? They got right now. Gorgie Dang is playing because Okongwu was hurt. I mean, and John Collins is great. Capella, Trae Young had 14 assists last night. Listen, I love watching it last year. The way Trae controls an offense and runs that pick and roll is a work of art. It's beautiful. It really is.
And you know what else? We were just talking about Miami. Trey's got a dog in him on offense.
Sure does.
He's got some dog in him. Like he is like, how do you think he's offended that you think you can guard him?
Yes.
And I love that. I wish my son had that. That is not something I ever instilled in him. It'd be great if Trey picked that up on defense a little bit more. But they are breathtaking. Yeah. Last night, their athleticism, their energy.
God,
there's just Cam Reddish being Cam Reddish, the guy that everyone hoped he would be. DeAndre Hunter on defense, which we saw last year. He was the answer for Julius Randle.
Yep.
While they smoked the Knicks. No, I think I gave them a 0.5% chance to win this year. I think what you said is exactly right in the trade deadline. And that's what our article was about a few months ago. I think Henry's second line of the title was they can decide when. I wrote Hawks will win a championship, and Henry wrote they can decide when, because of what you just said. Maybe they do trade and upgrade immediately, but they also have Bogdanovich, who's a very good player.
Yes.
Their ball movement was fantastic. They shared the ball like it was late spring. They really were offensively and defensively on a string. Capella was terrific when he needed to be. The Mavs just got run out. It would have been great to see Miami, the way they played last night, playing that Atlanta team. That'd have been a hell of a game.
Oh, yeah.
And those teams were smoking. Atlanta's maybe the fourth or fifth best team. Well, they're going to be the fourth or fifth best team. And in the East, which tells you something about how good the East is this year.
They're young, coach. Young legs matter in the playoffs, right? Like that's
young and deep.
Yeah.
So shouldn't be worn out.
Yeah. They can race up and down the floor. And Trey, one last thing about him that you love so much. He has the proverbial chip on his shoulder, right? Like his whole life, I'm the small guy. No one thinks going to be any good at anything. Like, kid, you're good in high school. You ain't going to be that good in college. All right, I'll show you, MFers. All right, when you get to the league, all right, I'll show like that. He is the constant, like, and when you have that with skill set, like, what?
Jordan had that.
Yeah, like
Kobe had that. Like,
gonna kill people. Like,
yeah. There is, they are not to be slept on, my man. They're fucking good.
They are good. It's so funny. You're like, Nets need to care about defense. I agree. Like they are perpetually, the Bucks came out in that game on Tuesday and played it like we want to make a statement and let y'all know we're here.
I thought so.
The Nets were like in third gear, like, oh, are we playing basketball tonight? Like, like they were kind of running it with emotions like they did defensively all regular season last year. And then, when it mattered the most is when they were like, all right, we got to start actually playing ball here for real. There are things they need to be better about defensively in terms of cleaning up their assignments and rotations. And the one thing I want to point out for that team is you got to remember they got a lot of new pieces they're working in. Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge, James Johnson, like all these new dudes. We got Paul Millsap. They got to figure out who's doing what are we doing? What do we communicate? And you saw a lot of that, like guys like, no, I thought you were switching. It's like, no, we gotta figure out what we're doing here.
I think My thing is you're in the postseason, you can jump up a level or 2 levels, however you want to, phrase it. But you can't go 10. Like there's a limit to how much you can get better in the postseason, series to series to series, because you can grow each series. And so it's just, to me, is where's the starting point? So where's that seed level going to be? If you're trying to get to 20 feet, you probably need to get to 10 feet in the regular season. Well, right now they're below sea level.
Yep.
So we got to get to 10 feet and then just build from there. And then their offense is going to be amazing. And Patty Mills is unbelievable. They're going to be great. I got no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I thought Nash's tone was good. KD was fine. I will tell you, I thought about this the Nets Bucks game. I love how you always say 1 game to 100. For the world, you're taking KD. I think I'm taking Giannis now. But actually, let me rephrase that. Here's what I'm doing. It depends on who the enemy is. Because if it's a bunch of guys that look like Giannis, I'm taking KD.
Right.
Because he can't dominate them.
Right.
Giannis can't, because he can't shoot the same.
Right.
But if it's just an incredible basketball team,
I'm taking Giannis.
I think I'm taking Giannis. Yeah, isn't that funny? I mean, KD is incredible. And by the way, I can't discount this. KD made a couple little hezzy attack moves, little hezzy cross that are just sick for anyone, any size, much less 7 foot 30, whatever. Yeah. How old is he now?
30. He's gonna be 33
So he's not old, but he's not young.
But he's old in basketball terms. With those miles on his body.
Sure, all those minutes. What an extraordinary offensive player.
Yeah,
he's a good defensive player too.
And it's funny about the net. Not funny, but we talked about how we think Milwaukee can be dynastic. We just talked about the Hawks and how young they are. For Brooklyn, in many ways, this year's kind of now or never for them, right? Yeah. You're not getting younger, right? Like you're going to be 34 next year. Harden's going to be 32. Like this is it, right? Like you gotta. This is the year to do it. Anyway, moving forward, looking at some more things. Lakers. I know you liked how they dealt with the Russ bad game. Russ was not great. We know that. I thought LeBron and AD came out, looked pretty good. Russ was not great. He was Russ. And they had some issues defensively that I think we saw with them missing THT, Alex Caruso, and those guys that are, I think, are going to plague them this season. Because I don't know if you're going to expect LeBron and AD to give you 30-something minutes and good defense for all 82 regular season games. I don't know if that's possible. AD should be. If he does that, they'll be fine. But I don't know.
I just like that after the game, I think Russ said LeBron told him, LeBron called him, is like, hey, go watch a comedy. Forget about this 1 game. AD said, LeBron did the same thing for me when I lost my first game. That's exactly right. Let's not overreact here. Those 2 guys played great. The young guys, the 3 guys that they need, Horton Tucker, Malik Monk, and none will be fine. Vogel's got to get them to buy in on defense, which I think he will. Then they have to execute. It's going to be a bit. How about your Knicks last night? I know you're thought 2 nights ago. I thought
excellent, man. They Obi Toppin looks so good. RJ Jarrett put Jason Tatum in a straitjacket in that game. He was all over him. Now, to be also fair, sometimes those tough shots that Tatum can hit those, right? So he was missing them, whatever.
He can.
But I thought Jaylen Brown was excellent. I was like, wow. It's so
he had 40-something too, didn't he?
Yeah. Here's my problem with both of those teams, though, Coach. Who is the natural playmaker on either roster?
Yeah, the Celtics have Marcus Smart.
He's not a natural playmaker.
No, that's not his strength. Dennis Schroeder, it is. He's coming off the bench. He'll be really good off the bench. I don't think you're wrong with your assessment of that. We'll see how Marcus Smart's handled being that guy, because he hasn't done it in a while, right? I think it's Robert Williams. I think he can be really, really good.
Time Lord looked good. He looked really good.
He can keep building on that. Listen, the Knicks, they lost in double overtime in New York. I think the Celtics have a shot. But Obi Toppin is who I'm excited about. He was one of my top 5 guys in the draft. He went number 8. Super athletic.
Yeah.
Super fast. And
he's speed racer.
Yeah, this is where the Knicks culture is doing a good job. I'm happy to see it. I want to see New York, because the East is so loaded. They may drop it. They're going to drop in seed.
But maybe be a better team. Yeah.
That's good news.
The city, Coach, I mean, Knicks fans are crazy. I'm like, guys, they were going insane. I was like, guys, it's one game, but I get it. Like it was, I know. But I mean, around that area, like the last couple of days, I'm like, man, we are. But it's always better when New York basketball. Both teams are good. That's a wonderful thing. I do think though they have to find a playmaker, New York, because that offense, coach, a lot of one-on-one and ISO, which that works in regular season. We saw what it did to you in the playoffs. Atlanta beat you.
Yeah, I mean, they have Randall playing some 4 now with Mr. Robinson at 5. Derrick Rose was not great in that game. He was great last year. Was up for 6th man of the year. We'll see how RJ develops as a primary ball handler. Mm-hmm. He's still got work to do on that. But he's getting better. You got to love RJ's growth on defense and his shooting. All right, we already talked about the Mavs. I haven't asked you about this. Dame is now saying, like, I'm here. Chauncey Billups is the guy.
Yeah.
So, Jarod, Hector, what do you believe?
Listen, Dame is he's a good, loyal soldier. That's who he is. He doesn't want to upset the Portland fans. I believe he wants to give Chauncey a chance. But Dame also knows if I were to give him truth serum, is this team good enough to win a title? No. And he knows it. He knows they're not good enough to win a title. Right. So he's going to do the good thing and play the good soldier. He's also, we talk about players' constitutions, right? Who has the makeup to do what? He does not have the makeup to force his way out. It's not that it, right? Because we already saw it. Henry reported, right? All of a sudden it was, no, I never said that, right? And it was just us. It didn't even gain that much traction. Yes, ESPN picked it up and whatever, but it wasn't like what's going on in Philly right now or with Harden last year was nowhere near that media circus. And he couldn't handle that. So that's telling me there's no way he can handle if he actually wants to push his way out. It's just not. So he's going to
have to do it quietly.
Yes.
Because I don't believe what he's saying. I think that he knows. I don't think he thinks I get what you said is right. He's going to give Chauncey a chance. How long is that chance going to be? Another year? I have people inside the organization for a long time who said 1 year and then he's gone. Who they don't know.
No, right.
And people change their minds all the time. So we're going to get to that because I want to talk to you about Ja Morant in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But let's quickly talk about, well, first of all, let's talk about Ja in the sense that he had 37. Woo! Jaren Jackson Jr., 4 block shots. Woo!
Yeah.
Not a single field goal inside of 3.
Yes.
Not so good.
So I watched that game. I was so happy to see Memphis playing. Here's something interesting about that team, Coach. Single game plus minus is a wonky stat. I know. Ja Morant was a negative in that game.
Yeah. He was unbelievable.
But he was unbelievable offensively. There's something about them defensively, though, at point of attack that just isn't quite up to snuff yet. So that's one thing that bears watching. I thought Jaren defensively was great. Notice the foul rate. He only had 2 fouls. And he was banging in there.
4 blocks.
He had 4 blocks. I was like, oh my, your defense is coming around. The 3-point shot's fine. He made 2 of 6 or 3 of 7.
3 of 8.
One
of them was coming off a flat baseline screen like you do for Klay Thompson.
Exactly.
That was pretty good.
Not worried about his 3 game. He has to work on the next evolution for him. Is when you catch inside, is that quick jump hook, quick move. He's thinking. I can see it. Too slow when you catch the ball inside. When he catches it at 3, Coach, he knows exactly what he's doing. Let it rip. But inside, I'm like, what are you thinking about? Just get into a move and do something.
He's not a bucket getter. Yeah, the phraseology I use, my son now uses it because we were talking about some of his 7-foot teammates. They like to wrestle with guys, and they do. They want to get the perfect clean look. No, just go. Just go. You get hit. You may get fouled. You may not. He's not a natural bucket getter. But neither was Tim Duncan, by the way.
Yeah.
And he became pretty fucking good at it. That's why I think he's Duncan 2.0.
Yeah.
The 3-point shot.
Yep.
4 blocks is great. Now learn to get some buckets. Get to be fundamental with that, which he's not there now. And that'd be good. Who's got the bucket getting is Cat.
Oh, he looks so good.
That dude is a scoring machine.
Can we talk about the Wolves? Cat and Anthony Edwards on opening night. I was like, now granted, they're playing the Rockets. Let's not lose our minds.
Right, exactly.
But damn. Okay, so we know Cat. We think you and I both think Cat's a tentpole guy, right? You can build a franchise. Sure. Okay. Is it too early to think Anthony Edwards might be a number 2?
So he made a move in a preseason game that made me think of Dwayne Wade. I wrote that. I worried about him bringing effort. He and LaMelo both. I worried about their effort, their consistent effort on shot selection and a defense. And I still have a concern about both. But it's not too early to say that he's absolutely got that chance. Both of them, both LaMelo and Anthony Edwards, clearly have a chance to be incredible players as winners, not just stat guys. Edwards can be like Dwayne Wade, can be like Donovan Mitchell, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we'll see how Chris Finch is the coach. They've got some talent there.
Yeah.
You're right. Houston is a glorified G League team. Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon.
I worry about Steven Silas. Like, I mean, I hope they let him. I mean, they put him in such an unfair situation. The Harden thing last year, and now you got to give him a chance, man. You can't evaluate him with this. This is a G League roster.
People think he may get fired this year. I know that they're not acting in Houston like they're going to fire him. In other words, he's in charge of some things that are a good sign for the franchise, is all I can really say. And I'm glad that he's empowered. I really want him. He's a very good guy. I'm not friendly with him, but I know a lot about him. I want to be successful, and you're exactly right. He's dealt with some tough stuff, but he's got a talented young roster. Let those young guys play.
Yeah, let them play.
Let them play.
Let them cook. You can score a lot with Suggs and with Christian Wood, and you got guys. Green, you should be okay.
All right, let's talk about the rookies.
Okay, so Evan Mobley played in that game that we talked about, Memphis. He showed some things, Coach. I was like, this guy, oh man,
he blocked Jarod twice.
He did. I was like, look at this dude. I was like, he's got a little bit of range. I think, look, he's young. He still gets lost and doesn't know, like you always say, puppy dog with their head cut off, just run around, don't know what they're doing. Yeah. But I see the tools. There's a reason why we were high on them. We're like, no. This, if they can develop, I worry about Cleveland, of course, because they are who they are.
Right.
But if he gets developed right, man, they got a winner here. And we saw it could work. You can play him and Jarrett Allen at the same time, and that is a nightmare front court.
Yeah. Chad Ford tweeted out that now he's hearing from all these NBA people that the two best prospects in the draft, the guys will end up being the best are Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley. Mobley was number one on my board. Barnes number two. We wrote about it.
We said it from the beginning.
and all I want to say about that, because we're all wrong. Like, it's impossible to write up everything, in part because there's so many variables.
Yes.
For example, what you just said, Mobley's going to Cleveland. He's in Cleveland. I don't know if I trust Cleveland unless your name's LeBron James.
Right.
I mean, Kyrie wasn't nearly as good till LeBron showed up there. He was just a talented player, not a winner. But I fucking work hard at this, man. Like, I'm glad the NBA people now are saying it, Chad. I said it before they even showed up for Summer League, all right? Like, I watch a lot of tape. I know what I'm doing. It doesn't mean I'm right all the time, but people should hear me and at least give us some credibility, because I've worked hard to earn that credibility. But on rookies, I wrote in our document, like, do you know why Larry David calls it Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No.
Because he's a crotchety old Jewish dude. I would say that. And it's just an attitude he has of like, I see that you're all happy, whatever.
Right. Settle down.
Such a funny explanation when he describes it. Like, just even down enough for the rest of us who aren't so happy, joy, right? That's how I felt during preseason when everyone's a buzz about these rookies, to include the guys that I like.
Right.
Like, there's been Duarte was amazing for
really
Indiana. He was probably the best rookie after game one out of Oregon. Jalen Suggs sucked. Jalen Green sucked. It's fucking hard.
So hard.
Curb your enthusiasm. This is the best league in the world. And most of these guys want to kill you in the game.
Yes.
So these rookies can't breathe. There's no oxygen to breathe.
Listen, get excited about your rookies. Be happy you can see some nice things. But talk to me come February when that inevitable rookie wall hits, when they've played more games than they've ever played in their lives. And they're like, wait, we got 3 more months of this season to go? Yeah, buddies, we do. Particularly when a lot of these guys are used to winning and you're on terrible teams and you're just losing. Right? Like, yeah. Talk to me then. How are we doing then? It's, it's growing pains. That's how this league is.
I want to get your thoughts, Jarod, on this, and then we're gonna do our weekly our new weekly thing, our top 5 for
top 5
right now, Power 5. So there's an article in the Athletic about John Morant is not big on leaving where you are, and
Joe Varden.
I fucking hate this so much.
Yeah,
these guys, man, I'm 56, and 5 years ago I would have thought my wife and I we're never leaving here. We have an amazing house. Tons of whatever. It's great. Perfect. Beach is 20 minutes away. And now every day we're texting back and forth properties in the Research Triangle of North Carolina. Like, we're fucking out of here for sure. It's a matter of when. We got to take care of our parents for, as long as we have the privilege of doing so. And we're gone. Why are we writing articles? And I like the Athletic just fine. I have a lot of friends there. But what does John Morant know about what he can do long term? And he can't even tell the truth if he wanted to.
Right.
If he wasn't so sure. And so we're just setting this guy up to be the villain. I fucking hate it.
Because for this exact reason, for people to get on shows, talk about it, for it to have clicks in the right. And it's the way he framed it too. The article was framed, right? He doesn't believe in joining up a team draft you, whatever. It's like, what is he supposed to say? Every player says the same thing.
Right.
And guess what? They can do what they do, play out their contract. And guess what? When they're done, they can leave.
Right.
Who cares? They don't owe cities anything.
And it doesn't make him a hypocrite.
No.
You're allowed to change your mind, or you're allowed not to tell the truth when you're being interviewed and ask a dumb fucking question like that.
Exactly. I think it's silly. I do think that Ja has the right mentality for that. Like it's funny, when I All-Star 2 years ago in Chicago, right before the pandemic, I remember there's the rookie sophomore game, the Rising Stars Challenge, they call it. Him and Ja and Triple J were there, and I was talking to them, and I was like, Ja, I was like, man, you got an old soul. Like, you're a young dude, but you walk around like you're some. That's how I was raised, man. Everything is just so mellow, slow, and I don't think he cares about all the other shit.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to play ball and win.
Right, until Nike says we'll give you 300.
Well, then that might change things. Sure, that might change his.
And it's okay.
Totally fine.
Yeah,
totally fine.
He's not a hypocrite. All right, Power 5, my man.
All right, you go first.
I'm gonna go with the defending champs. Milwaukee Bucks were 1-1, but they showed who they can be, and they didn't have Drew against Miami or Brook Lopez.
Okay,
they're in my top 5.
All right, I'm gonna go with overreaction after one game. Miami Heat #1. They blew out the Bucks.
My man, they're on my list. I haven't ranked in order. They're on my list. They're gonna be right there. They're tough as hell. We've talked about that.
Yeah. All right, who's your number 2?
So I've got Miami. I've got Milwaukee.
Okay.
Yeah, you get me.
All right, so I'll go 2. My second one's the Atlanta Hawks. Look, we just talked about them ad nauseum. I mean, what's their average age? 24, maybe? Like,
super young.
Like, they're so good. Yeah, they're not going to go 60-20. I know that. But listen, if they end the year top 3 in the East, I'm not going to be surprised. I'll be like, oh, well, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're on my list. I have them. I think I have them 5th in the East because I have Philly. But you said
who knows what's happening there.
So Atlanta's they deserve what they did last night. They deserve to be in my Power 5 for week 1. So I've got Milwaukee, Atlanta, Miami. You've got Milwaukee. I'm sorry, you've got Atlanta, Miami. Who's your third?
My third, Milwaukee. I mean, they're the defending champs. They put the smackdown on Brooklyn in game 1. Yeah, they look wobbly in game 2, but they know who they are, and they got Giannis.
Yeah. All right. So my number 4, the 2-0 Golden State Warriors.
Me too.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be at least 4 the same. Yeah, you can't. What they've done to beat the Lakers, they beat the LA teams. Steph Curry is making his run for MVP, which we knew would be possible. They've got some work to do. I don't think they'll be in my top 5 for long.
Probably not.
But I have to mention it now. I love everything about how Steph Curry operates as a professional basketball player. I really do.
2-0 against the LA teams, which matters because those teams matter. And they have an 8-game homestand coming up, and that schedule's pretty soft. Really? The only good team in that soft 8-game homestand is the Grizzlies. I mean, Coach, they could potentially be 10-0.
I hope they are. It'd be fun.
And then you'll see. Wait till Clay gets back. We're gonna win the championship.
All right, so we're the same there. My last team is the best team in the league last year, Utah Jazz. I mean, what they did in game 1, beating the worst team in the league, no big deal.
Right.
But no one else impressed me more. They're going to be really, really good, and maybe great. They might be great. We'll see how their bench unit does, but it's not much to beat OKC. But for now, I got Utah. Who do you got?
So I cheated. I had to put the Jazz there because they were the best team last year, but it was OKC. The Denver Nuggets. I just loved how they looked against Phoenix in that opening game. I was like, man, and you don't got Jamal Murray. And Michael Porter Jr. was just, man. I was like, wow. I mean, they do have Nikola Jokic. That helps.
No,
that helps.
They probably did. You were probably more right than me in terms of after one game. What Denver did, I mean, if you look at all the games, that might have been the most impressive. Is what Denver did without those guys. And I don't know what happened to MPJ. I actually didn't watch much of him.
It was fine. Like, just he didn't shoot it a ton, which surprised me actually. I'm like, but he seemed to kind of. What I think he's doing is trying to figure out, okay, I don't want to just come and shoot it every time. Like, he's trying to play within the offense. But, look, part of what makes them good are going to be good is you, dude, scoring 20-something a night because you're that good.
Yeah. Are you going to try to watch some games this weekend?
Yeah. Tomorrow night I'll watch games. Tonight I'm going to kind of go and meet up with some friends and not, it's also tough, right? Coach, I can't be telling my girl like every night, basketball tonight. She's going to be like, dude, all the way through June, we're going to be doing this. So not every night. I got to, you got to mix it up a little bit.
Tomorrow is the October 23rd is the first ever date my wife and I had. We went to a seafood festival down by the beach where she and I used to live. And that was in 1987. So 34 years ago tomorrow is the anniversary of our first date. So
congratulations.
Yes, Jarod, I know all what you're talking about right there. As a professional basketball coach for a long time. Yeah, I somehow managed. She still loves me and we're best friends. And yeah,
Does
you got to.
Does she like basketball?
Not at all. Thank goodness. I mean, she likes her son. Yeah, she likes that. But yeah, she doesn't care for it, and I'm thrilled.
Oh,
we have her own life when it comes to that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great weekend. Watch tons of NBA, and we will see you on Monday.